Blimey, George. I mean, you put a dampener on everything. You'd keep your pack-a-mac on in an orgy, you.
No, it wouldn't even be an orgy.
Coward.
I mean, shouldn't you just ring the fella? Have a chat?
Oh, boring. Sean's going to be fine, stop worrying.
I think we know him better than you, love.
On them cruise ships, I was a patron saint to the gays, May. In fact, I'm going to come with you, Sean. Sit in the waiting room, make sure you're okay.
Oh, thanks. I'd love that. Well, I best get flossing me Wotsits.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 216 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that doesn't think Amnesty International is about to jump into action, regardless of how distressing Homeless Stu found eating crusts that may have exceeded the 5-second rule. I'm Gavin.
And I've got a Greek music vinyl record to sell ya.
No thank you.
Aw, you don't like Greek folk music?
Well, funnily you should mention that. Because the tune Miserlou from Pulp Fiction, from Dale something in these Dale tones or whatever, I think that's based on a Greek folk song, or is that a Turkish folk song? Yeah, you really need to get that right before you go to either Greece or Turkey.
Yes. Fortunately, we're not going to either anytime soon.
So I'm free to get it wrong. What's that all about? Pray tell.
Pray tell. Well, Stelly and I are having our annual yard sale this weekend. Our second annual yard sale this weekend. And I have a lot of... I had gotten a box lot of vinyl records at an auction. And once I sorted the ones that I wanted and that I knew Stelly would want, all that was left was a lot of Greek music.
You don't like about Greek?
Well,
it's for another podcast.
it's for a completely different podcast. Yes, and you may be...
Sean's storyline was pretty good this week. Just saying.
Just saying. Yeah, but other than that, it's been kind of an uneventful week. I was kind of poorly in the middle of the week.
Yeah, we kind of thought you might have the COVID.
Yay.
You don't.
No.
I think...
This constantly happens to me where, I was like falling asleep even after taking after eating and also taking my meds, because sometimes if I don't eat with my diabetes medication, if I don't eat, then I start to drift off. And if I don't take my medication, sometimes I drift off.
Right. Same happens to Brett Michaels from Poison.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. He and I are always whittering on about that with one another. But and I had a sore throat and I had a headache and I was just
done to the world.
Yeah. No, seriously. I don't know. But anyway, and I fell asleep on the couch on Tuesday, watching Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and then nearly fell asleep on Thursday, finishing off What We Do in the Shadows. So
Yeah.
it was kind of a week where I was just kind of staring off into space.
As my dear old mum was fond of saying, you were fucked 5 ways to Friday.
Yes, she was fond of saying that, especially to her priest.
Right.
Yes. How are you? Well, I was trying to watch as many Emmy nominations as possible.
I'm good. I was doing the opposite.
Well, no, actually, you're not, because Better Call Saul is nominated for an Emmy.
Yeah, but that wasn't why I was watching it.
Well, no, of course not.
This is the last episode of Better Call Saul coming up on Monday.
Are you excited?
And I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
Are you excited? It's not
yeah.
like there isn't a million other things. That's perfect, because then you'll have Lord of the Rings and the Game of the Thrones to watch.
It's not going to be as good as Better Call Saul.
Well, no, but at least...
It's just episode after episode of perfect television.
Yeah, yes, of course. Bob Odenkirk nearly gave his life for that show.
Yeah, I was trying to watch it and see the scene where that happened, because I know the scene in which
Right.
it happened. And
Yeah,
I
he's
think
talked about it.
Half of it happened before and half of it
Yeah,
I think
he
happened
says,
after. But you
what if
can't
it was
see-
before he died, and then the other part is after he died?
Right.
Because he was legally dead for like 5 minutes.
Legally or medically? Because legally, I think, is a whole other ball of yarn.
I think you can
If
be
you're
legally
legally dead, then you get a death certificate.
I
I don't
think-
think you got that.
No. But I think you can be legally dead without being medically dead, because I think people have...
I fear we are veering away from the Better Call Saul conversation here.
Right, yeah. I was just thinking, they were kind of declaring Anne Heche dead while she was just brain dead before she was unfortunately taken off life support today and became officially dead.
The episode, anyway, that was on last week was showing Kim, who is Rhea Seaborn, is that her name? Who's just fabulous.
Right.
Showing her life away
After.
from Saul, and it is just mind-trudgingly dull. It is our boyfriend or our partner, whatever, talking about, is Miracle Whip a good replacement for mayonnaise? And that's really the height of the
So like our life.
the discussion. And that's what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking. It was like, God, you're watching this thinking, oh, poor Kim. She's like just putting up with such a trudgery of...
There is nothing wrong with a boring life.
Right.
It is a curse to say, may you live in interesting times. Let's not forget.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Shall we preamble, my dear?
Else, please.
Give us some of that eggy Corrie
Oh,
news.
God, I can't believe you said that.
What's mayonnaise?
I'm just going to warn you now. Corrie News this week, dreadful. I'm just warning you now.
Do you know the trailer for the Game of the Thrones thing said exactly the same thing? I'm just going to warn you now. There's no dragons in this, and it's shit.
Well, there's lots of dragons and really bad wigs. If you've seen
If only we could say the same for Corrie News.
lots of dragons, really bad wigs. Apparently, Sally Carman has zero sympathy for us well-endowed ladies. Katie McGlynn was bemoaning on the Insta how tough it is to buy clothes when one has an ample bosom. And Sally piped up with her lack of...
With a lack of...
face. Sympathy.
Oh.
Just wait until your back gives out, Katie. It's coming in a good 10 years. I and my 38 double Fs will just keep our thoughts to ourselves in the meantime.
I don't know if this reflects well or badly on me, but I can't say that I'd noticed Sinead's or Abby's Yabby's.
Boobs.
I'll take your word
If
for
you
it.
had seen this picture of Katie McGlynn on the Insta, you would have noticed her boobs.
She always kind of wore...
Right. She
Like
always wore
big
those
woolly-
hippie clothes
right.
on the show. Well, in real life, she doesn't wear those hippie clothes.
She doesn't know.
No. Trust me, there are worse things than clothing when it comes to big boobs. But I digress.
Yeah, you weren't kidding about Corrie News this week.
It's
Still the three things, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
It seems R. Kelly truly is leaving us, as members of the cast gave her a lovely send-off at the Alchemist Bar this week.
Oh, lovely.
I'm sure they'll miss her as much as we will. Do keep in touch, Millie.
Maybe even more.
Probably more, yes. And it seems other former Corrie stars are out and about together as Faye Brooks, Lucy Fallon, and Charlotte Jordan joined current Corrie star and Faye actress Ellie Leach for a day out at the races, having a great time with no PC tinker in sight. Apparently, they were trying to cheer Faye Brooks up. She has recently split from her boyfriend of 3 years, whose name I can't remember, and it's not that important. Probably a footballer.
Fabrics.
She was very, very selfish.
I'm just kidding. She was going out with Gareth Gates, I think, wasn't she? But or maybe that was the boyfriend before the last one.
Well, 3 years, so
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
I don't know. I'm just an old married woman with an ample bosom, and that's Corrie News.
Apparently so. Yeah, stay behind afterwards too. I think there's a few things that we need to talk about.
I was ill and had a yard sale.
Yeah. And now, as tradition dictates, let's podcast for coffee. Thanks to Jen from Canada for our coffees this week.
Thank you.
Dear
Canadians, we love them.
Dear Helen and Gavin, says Jen, my French-Canadian partner cannot be convinced to watch a British soap, so I live vicariously through your Corrie debates.
Aw.
It was a bit of a tough week, so thank you for the laughs. I hope you enjoyed your time in Canada.
We did.
We always enjoy our time in Canada.
We always enjoy our time in Canada, even when it's accidental. I saw somebody on Twitter post a picture of that turnoff on 75 where it says, bridge to Canada, no re-entry. Mm-hmm. And lots of Detroiters and other Michiganders complaining about the fact that happens all the time, where you accidentally get off on that exit and have to go to the free duty shop and explain yourself and get them to open the gate to the street behind so you can get out of going to Canada.
Oh, see, I would just end up going to Canada.
Right. Not everybody carries their passport with them at all times.
I suppose. But yeah. Thank you so much, Jen, for our coffees. We're not drinking coffee at the moment because we're doing this on a Friday night.
And I'm not drinking anything.
I am heading to Detroit again. To the airport again. To pick up a child again. From Connecticut again. Haven't already done this? Yes, yes. I have. Like 2 weeks ago.
This is the last time, though, until the next time we send them out.
Wow, that's just a sentence packed with information.
Well, I was going to say the next time until Christmas, but I'm assuming this year we'll all go out for Christmas. Hopefully, maybe. We'll see.
If you want to buy us next week's coffees, you can go to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street, and we will be very appreciative, won't we, Helen?
Yes.
Yes. Thanks again. And now this.
Oh, welcome.
Welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about Senior Knickerflogger.
Senor Knickerflogger. I can't think of anybody who speaks en Espanol on the street, so I have no idea.
That's right, this was Beth being pissed off about Toyah's new role of senior sales advisor at the factory, something she's contributed precisely fuck all to in the last few months.
Oh, senior, not senor.
Oh. That's not this week's joke, is it? Oh, God, I hope not.
I thought you said senor, not senior.
Senior. Oh, maybe I did put a little tilde over that N. I didn't mean to.
You said something else recently that I thought you said something else. What was it?
This happens daily.
You'd think after 10 years I'd be used to your accent.
Nah, apparently not. I was Gavin, and you know how to show your baby a good time.
That's right, I do.
You had booked some time away in Cleveland, Ohio to look at Edward Hopper etchings.
Yes, and I have booked some time away next weekend to Mackinac City to look at the Milky Way.
You better hope it's not cloudy. Are we only going for one night?
Yeah.
Yeah, we better
Saturday.
hope it's not cloudy. It's going to be cloudy now, isn't it?
If it's cloudy, then we'll stay another night. I was going to book a nighttime ferry to see the Milky Way from the lake, but then I was like, you don't like boats.
No, not keen on drowning. We got up to some pretentious middle-class shenanigans in Cleveland. Remember our middle-class pretentious weekend? We had pretentious food. We went to see a documentary, didn't we?
Yes, we did. No, wait. Oh, I remember that theater. That wasn't where we saw the...
was that your birthday? Roadrunner.
Yeah, we saw Roadrunner on my birthday up north. But we did see a movie in Cleveland. We bought pretentious cheese.
We saw your favourite movie of all time nearly that trip. That was the Souls thing. My souls, your souls, our souls.
Oh, 9 days.
9 days, that was
yes. A movie with my beloved Benedict Wong in it.
Mm. So that means it was last year that we went to the Christmas Story house then?
Yes.
That was good fun.
That was good fun. It was kind of like tacked on. That was the least pretentious thing we did on that trip.
Yeah, and how unpretentious was that? In a somewhat bizarre opening to the week, Shona is involved in a hit and run that puts Todd in the hospital, and at time of going to press, no one has been given a medal. Nina gets cracking on building Seb's man garden, choosing not to recognise Abby's obvious distaste for the idea or ask Asha where she really got the money to invest in the project.
And did not get any sponsorship from Manscaping.
No. Daisy is very keen to be seen in public with Ryan now that the two of them are an item, but doesn't anticipate Ryan still having regrets over his previous relationship with Alia. It looks increasingly unlikely that Leanne or Nick are going to get any time off in the near future as we open a storyline where it looks like they're going to be back running the Bistro, and that's exactly what happened.
Right, that turned out well.
Yeah. Fizzy's disappearance causes much speculation over her whereabouts and her involvement in the salon flat fire and drives a wedge between Tyrone and Alina. Dev is missing a marigold. Brian's plums need careful handling.
Well.
And that fucking Rover 75 is back. Our moment of the week was Debbie and Leanne jousting at the Bistro, and a boring moment of the week was Roy's new planter, and that was Coronation Street, and the talk of the street, this time last year.
Yes.
Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
Our first storyline this evening, is Tim's mum about the house.
Yay!
I do like that tune.
Me too.
Now, this had a subtitle before it became Tim's mum about the house, which was, I arrest Stu in the name of the law. Because Chris Anstey on Twitter has already come up with the, I think, perfect Dal M for murder. Well done, Chris.
Yes, well done, Chris.
I hope you had a refreshing drink and a little feet up when you came up with that one. On Monday, Yasmeen and Alia are chatting about the situation with Homeless Stu. Yasmeen taking it particularly hard that she's been taken for a fool again. She never wants to hear Homeless Stu's name.
Ever again.
Ever again. You hear? At speed dial, Smarmy Matt comes in to suggest that Alia accompanies him on a country trip as a company jolly. And it's not just a trip across the country, it's a trip across the country.
Yes.
So they're not just going away to the East Coast.
No.
They're driving all about.
Yes.
I'm not shagging you, says Alia, but Matt has thought of that and it's separate rooms.
Right.
Yasmeen insists that her granddaughter goes off with this man she barely knows. Meanwhile, Kelly is in Nina's roles when she gets a worrying text and she storms round to speed dial looking for Homeless Stu. She shows Alia and a recently returned Zidane the article in the paper about him murdering someone 30 years ago. Alia breaks the news that it's true. And I'm not sure why this is news.
No. First of all, who posted this? The man went to prison for this crime. Mm-hmm. Whether he committed it or not. He went to prison already. He served his time.
Man is rehabilitated.
Already. Rehabilitated. What is going on here? Now, this is not how this works.
You don't send someone to jail and then they get out of jail and then you release the news story about it, right?
Right.
But I wonder, is it in the public interest because he was starting this
right,
help the homeless kind of thing with the food waste stuff?
And it seemed like maybe it was like an op-ed piece, like somebody had overheard all of this at Speed Doll at the time, that, you know, because it seemed more like a blog post than something in the Weather Gazette.
No,
it didn't look official.
It was Weather Gazette.
Was it?
The banner head was there.
Was it? Mm-hmm. I didn't see a banner head. It was just like a yellow stripe.
No, there was a Weather Gazette article, I think. Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Was it?
Yeah.
If you say so. I watched on my iPad. You watch on a big, massive screen.
I do.
So, if you say so.
3 times.
I believe you. You still miss stuff, though.
Well, I'm only human. And sometimes I'm not really watching it. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed how sometimes I'm not really watching it?
Yeah, so this is absolutely ridiculous that this is, you know, this has been posted. And not only has it been posted, they've posted where he works. Mm-hmm. So now people are canceling Speed Doll because a man who was convicted of murder and went to prison and never did anything else wrong when he got out of prison besides be homeless.
And suspected of burning down Speed Doll.
I thought
you didn't do, but you
no.
were suspected of it for a while.
Yeah, but the regular general people don't know that.
Well, this is my point. I think that if in our local curry house,
Right.
if we had one of the chefs had previously had a conviction for murder, if anything, it's going to attract people to go to that restaurant. But you kind of look at most chefs and you think, yeah, you've probably done some
Seriously,
nasty shit in your time, right?
Name me one chef who hasn't done time for something. We know people who work in our local restaurants who have been to prison. We don't ask them why.
Nope.
We know they have because they've told us.
Because
But we
you know
don't
what?
ask them why.
You cook a mean bit of salmon, so
Right.
therefore I
Yeah.
forgive you.
And you're a lovely person
Right.
to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I-
Question marks over your past, but you know what? That salmon today, beautifully done.
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
So Alia explains that Stu confessed, but under further questioning from Kelly, has to admit that he's insisting that he's innocent.
Right.
Zidane, who's been back for 2 minutes, huffs disbelievingly at this. And I'm like, who rattled your cage, Zidane? You don't know anything about this.
No. And let's not forget.
Oh, let's not forget.
And we will be not forgetting quite a lot in this storyline and in another storyline
Oh,
about people who live in glass houses. Because let's not forget that Zidane isn't exactly innocent when it comes to breaking the law.
and fucking over his gran.
Right.
Kelly rushes out and explains all to Addie, who doesn't believe it neither. She heads off to try and find Stu at one of his usual dossing haunts, and Addie goes along to keep her company. And after running into some scary youths scoring drugs or whatever,
Yeah, why was that even in there?
Not sure.
It didn't have a point except to turn them around so that they would bump into Homeless Stu behind a trash can.
yeah, they finally find Homeless Stu lying on a piece of cardboard, passed out from the drink. Kelly tries to bring him round while Addie calls an ambulance, and it looks like Homeless Stu will be this week's character in hospital.
Oh dear, this is the thing that you were threatening us with, wasn't it?
Yes.
We said there was a new segment.
Yes.
This is it. Is this a combination of the ER theme tune with Coronation Street?
I feel like I've well, first of all, let me just address, I think I've missold our Twitter followers a bill of goods here. That this is not an exciting feature, but I think it's something that is worth tracking. Does someone go to hospital every week? Because it feels like they do. And this week, it's Homeless Stu's turn to go to the hospital. The theme tune is, let's say, inspired by the BBC drama show Casualty.
Is it?
But I don't think inspired enough that it's actionable.
It sounds a bit like the ER theme tune
Does it?
as well.
Let's listen to it again.
Yeah. Do-do-do-do-do.
It's supposed to be the...
Maybe all doctor shows have kind of like a do thing because it's like the monitors, the heart monitors.
I was going for the siren of the ambulance, and then we have a ooh little drone at the end,
the
which
flat
is a flat line, and then the ting-ling-ling-ling-ling, somebody ascending or descending from this mortal coil. Right.
Yes.
So there'll be more this week's character in hospital probably next week.
We'll see. It's either that or the jail. We get both this week.
I don't want to promise anything.
Oh,
Because
no.
I've got a busy week ahead of me, but I'm going to try and do a police theme tune as well. At hospital, Stu, who's been admitted for being drunk, comes round
Alcohol
sober.
poisoning.
Comes round sober with Kelly at his bedside. He calls her his lucky charm, and they talk about the shocking news of his time inside and how he's innocent, I tells you.
And she calls him Old Blue Eyes because she knows who Frank Sinatra is.
Kelly believes him. She's Team Stu all the way until the end of the episode. He wishes that he'd had a chance to explain to Yasmeen, and Kelly secretly decides to do something about that.
Ugh.
So she goes to see Yasmeen at an otherwise empty speed dial. Yasmeen isn't interested in a conversation, but Kelly explains that Stu's in hospital and deserves a chance to explain. She appeals to Yasmeen and her sense of right from wrong, good from evil.
Yes.
So Yasmeen goes to see Homeless Stu, but she's not there to do no listening. She's there to do some talking.
Right.
And she tells Homeless Stu that he's a pussy for getting Kelly to do his dirty work.
Which isn't what happened.
She'll never forgive him for lying to her and her family. He tries to explain, but she talks over him, calling his denials nonsense. He confessed, so he can go fuck himself for all she cares, and she storms out.
First of all, she walks in, and it seems like it's going to be a nice conversation because she starts off with an icebreaker about how this bastion of health has at its front door a place that sells unhealthy food.
Right.
And it's like, oh, this is a nice icebreaker. This is some reconciliation going on here, maybe.
It's not an opener for your 5-minute set at the Edinburgh Festival,
Right.
but it's decent, right?
Yeah, this is the Yasmeen we used to know years ago before Tim's dad got a hold of her, where she had fairly good judgment of character and didn't jump to conclusions immediately and was kind to people in dire straits and seemed to understand how the law is not infallible.
To be fair, though, Homeless Stu is building up a bit of a track record here, a bit of a resume of not really being honest with Yasmeen.
Not being completely honest,
when
yeah.
He probably should be.
Yeah.
But she's willing to listen to everyone else apart from him.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and he's in a hospital bed. Why even come down? Why
Right.
even show up?
Yeah, just leave it.
Just call him. Leave a message. Text.
Later, Kelly goes back to see Homeless Stu and wants to hear how it went with Yasmeen. It went shite,
Well.
and it's all your fault, he snaps. He tells her that he never liked her, and she's a jinx, and he never wants to see her again. You're not welcome here. And upset, Kelly
the
rushes
hospital.
away. Right.
You're not welcome in the hospital. I don't think that's your call, Stu.
Right. On Wednesday, at home, Zidane is mounting a social media campaign to
But
distance...
not like that.
Oh, I didn't even spot that one. Well done.
Thank you.
Mounting a social media campaign to distance Speed Dial from Homeless Stu. This apparently has Yasmeen's blessing. Meanwhile, Alia, who didn't want to go off with Matt, is cock-a-hoop to rush off for a whole week and a bit with Matt. And that's her off. She's gone.
Bye-bye.
Billy goes to the hospital to see Homeless Stu. Outside the ward, Kelly asks him to get Homeless Stu into a shelter, but then refuses to go in to see him after his outburst the other day.
Right.
And Billy is somewhat shocked by this.
And, in fairness, Kelly is not mature enough to recognize when somebody is pushing her away.
Yeah. I thought she was mature enough to notice that.
Yeah, but it seems...
In the cold light of day.
But it seems not, which is fine.
So Billy goes to see Homeless Stu and finds him in a bit of a self-deprecating mood. He has no use for him or Kelly, and no one has given him the
Or
least...
God.
No one has given him the least bit of help over the years. Billy's head goes to the sanctimonious angle as he explains that Kelly and Yasmeen have literally fallen over themselves to help him in the past.
As
You
has
selfish
Billy
prick.
with his soup.
Yeah, he has.
Yes, people have helped you,
I
Stu.
thought Billy was great in this.
I thought he was too.
And it was one of the rare times that you see him doing some vickering.
Right, yes.
Conversely, Emmerdale this week had a wedding in it.
Uh-huh.
And you know who conducted the wedding?
The
guy
vicar.
who plays the vicar.
Yeah.
Right?
As he should.
It can be done.
It can be done.
So, yeah, he was going in and he was saying, I'm not here to convert you.
No. Yeah.
I'm here to see that you're all right, basically, and just being a good person. And,
Right.
And stuff.
Yeah.
But he had his little message that was,
Right.
I guess, scripture-based or whatever about, forgiving and all that good stuff.
Right.
But wasn't there to
Yeah.
get Homeless Stu into a church and
No.
was just there to give him some advice and
Right.
stuff.
And find him some shelter for the night.
Right, and I thought he did a really good job with
He
it.
did.
And I thought Daniel Brocklebank's portrayal of Billy here was top notch.
Yes.
I really enjoyed that.
Yes. It's nice when he actually gets to do some vickering.
Yeah.
More of that, please.
So, Homeless Stu has been discharged after spending a night in the hospital with a hangover. He tries to buzz Kelly's flat, but she's either not in or ignoring him, as Todd is quick to point out. And I'm like, who rattled your cage, Todd?
Yeah. Fuck off, Todd. You're not in... Do you even know Homeless Stu? Have you ever spoken to Homeless Stu in your life?
And that...
Do you have any connection with Kelly?
That-
No, you're one of the few people on the street who don't.
doesn't. That Glasshouse Stones thing
Yes.
rears its head again as
Right.
Todd passes
Absolutely.
judgment on this guy.
The one person the one person on the street who does not throw stones, I think, is Billy, who also has attempted to murder people and has had his life attempted to be murdered
Oofed.
as well.
Let's parse
Or
that
wait,
one, shall we?
didn't Billy kill somebody but accidentally?
Yes,
Yeah.
Susan Barlow.
Right, yeah. And that's why Peter tried to throw him off, did throw him off a cliff.
Well-
and he lived.
Well,
How did that happen?
Didn't stop him falling off a cliff. Let's put it that way. Yeah, Billy and Homeless Stu have something in common now.
Right.
Murder.
This whole week, I'm just like ticking off boxes of who has murdered or accidentally caused someone to die on the street. Who has stolen money on the street?
I think we'll take bingo on that. Homeless Stu turns up at speed dial asking for 5 minutes to explain himself. Suzanne tells him to leave, then Yasmeen tells him to leave. Later, Yasmeen is frantic trying to deal with customers and wrong change and wrong order, so Zidane tells her to go home. Honestly, the staffing issues at Speed Dial are going to bite them on the ass one day because no one seems to work a full shift there. Yasmeen goes home, but
The background actors in non-speaking roles, they always work a full shift.
yeah, how are they going to take somebody's order? Oh, I guess they're not in non-listening roles
Right, that's right.
or non-writing roles.
Right. They can bring trays to tables.
Yasmeen goes home, but is shocked to see Homeless Stu there, back to pick up a sentimentally priceless watch, just like Bruce Willis in Pulp Fiction. So Homeless Stu opens fire on Yasmeen. as
Why
she
is
reads-
it always a watch? It seems to always be a watch in these situations, isn't it? Why do people put so much sentimental value on watches?
Because you tend to inherit them, like my dad's watch is upstairs.
Yes, it is.
So Homeless Stu opens fire on Yasmeen as she reads The Guardian on the shitter. Homeless Stu is shocked that Yasmeen seems scared of him, and so to counter this, he refuses to leave.
Yeah,
That's gonna help.
this is one of the times that I was like, Stu, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
But what he's doing is exposition for the audience.
Yeah, he's Homeless Stu exposition here.
Right, yes.
As he explains a story about a forced confession eked out of him by a sadistic detective sergeant called Lennox, who forced him to eat stale crusts from the floor and sandwiches covered in margarine when he would have preferred butter. Lennox broke him, he says. Homeless Stu says if he'd done it, he would have told Yasmeen up front, which doesn't explain
Really?
why, if he didn't do it but still served the time, he didn't tell her about that.
Right. He does admit to the affair, though.
Yes.
Which I find interesting.
Oh, why did you find that interesting?
Because that means he did actually have an affair with this young woman.
That would explain why she was covered in his DNA.
Oh. But also,
Sorry.
this
Hair caught
in the
back.
long run seems to support my theory that it was the daughter, whereas you think it was the mother who did it. Because,
Oh, no, I don't.
because the daughter's DNA would be close enough to Stu's DNA, especially 30 years ago when DNA testing was like
Yeah, it was barely a D.
barely a thing. You know, when you stop and think about the fact that this happened 30 years ago and supposedly she was covered in his DNA, it's like, wait a second.
I no longer think it was the mother, and I still don't think it was the daughter. See if you can guess who I think it was before we get to the end of this story.
Do you think it was Lennox?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Do you think Lennox knew this girl?
Yes.
Why do you think that?
Because it's the only other unnamed character in the storyline.
I still think it was the daughter. The daughter found out about the affair and murdered this girl.
We'll see. Back at Speed Dial, said that, well, that still doesn't explain why he would say to his daughter, I never touched that girl. If he knew he was covering for the... Or maybe he didn't
He doesn't know
okay.
he's covering for her. That's the thing. He thinks because he doesn't
The
mention
daughter
that.
must have been about 5 when that happened, though.
No, because she's like in her 40s now. She was like around the
9
same
then.
age as the girl. Who
Back
knows?
at Speed Dial,
People's
Zidane
ages are weird.
is the unwilling participant in Steve and Tim's conversation about where they counted season tickets. Steve insisting that the only reason that he never had one is because he was usually getting married on Saturdays, which
It's true.
was a wonderful line.
Zing.
Then Tim asks how things are going with Yasmeen and the littlest hobo, and that was quite funny as well.
Well, was it?
Yeah,
It was a little insulting to both Stu and Charlie Chaplin.
the littlest hobo is the dog. There's a voice that keeps on calling me down the road, That's where I'll always be. Every stop I make a new friend. Can't stay for long, just turn around and I'm gone again. Maybe tomorrow I'll want to settle down. Until tomorrow I'll just keep moving on. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Did you get that little Stobo? Played by London, I think, was the dog.
Yeah. Charlie Chaplin was the littlest hobo. But also...
Not in this joke.
But also, hobo's kind of an offensive term at this point.
It is, but it's Homeless Stu, so who cares? Last thing we need is a murder on the street. No offence, he says to Steve.
Right, yes. Thank God that Tim remembers to say something to Steve about the fact that his wife is a murderer, and yet everybody seems fine with it.
Yasmeen goes to phone Zidane, sick of Homeless Stu's story and how at no point does he give any regard or time to young Charlie who got killed. At speed dial, Zidane gets a call and overhears this conversation. Homeless Stu is still going on about Lennox and his sandwiches when Zidane and PC Tinker burst in. Tinker is quite happy to stand by and watch Zidane and Stu squabble and push each other about, but when Homeless Stu mentions a crooked copper Lennox, Tinker leaps into action and nicks Homeless Stu for breach of the peace. As he's ushered out, Homeless Stu drops his watch, and at this point I would kind of made a joke that, this is what gets Tinker into action, is when somebody's accusing that copper of being corrupt.
Right, yeah.
He's corrupt himself.
Right.
But we'll have further information on that from tonight's episode.
Right, yeah. And nothing from that conversation that Stu was having from Yasmeen that Zidane overheard, besides the fact that Stu was there.
Oh, that was enough.
Was enough to call PC Tinker of all people. Unless Craig was just like right outside walking around in his uniform, which he's not supposed to do on the street that he lives on.
Or sleeping in his patrol car, which he's done before.
Right. The whole thing was just like, come on.
All the commotion settled. Zidane finds a watch and Yasmeen tells him to bin it, which I thought was a bit harsh. Zidane scoffs at Homeless Stu's story about DS Lennox, the sandwiches, the police cover-up, the forced confession.
Lennox, that's a common name. He just pulled that out of the ether.
Yasmeen agrees, but looks like it's all weighing heavy on her mind. On Friday,
something's weighing heavy on her mind
PC Tinker are speaking about Homeless Stu again. Zidane confuses the police with the judiciary and tries to ensure that Homeless Stu is given life imprisonment for standing in a lounge. Right. This is not my fucking problem, says PC Tinker. Then Tim's mum's back.
Yay!
Tim has filled her in.
But not like that,
and then
because that would be gross.
And then told her about the Homeless Stu situation. Yasmeen puts on a brave face and is confused about Stu's intentions. She wonders how many women have to suffer like this and wonders what she can do about it. So this gets Yasmeen and Tim's mum thinking that now they want to run a fundraiser for women in abusive relationships or something. Zidane worries that this is a reaction to the Homeless Stu thing, minus several million points for stating the obvious there, says Yasmeen. So Yasmeen and Tim's mum go to the Bistro to explain their women's fundraiser to Leanne, and she's happy to donate a prize for the raffle, as is a passing Stephen. So back at Speed Dial, Yasmeen and Tim's mum are happy with the progress on their female empowerment fundraiser, which is cue to talk about a man. Tim's mum is very impressed with Stephen and his progressive Canadian ways. Yasmeen could have been there and done that, so she's out of the game, which gives Tim's mum an unblocked path to the angry man with the accent. And later, Zidane and Yasmeen approach Craig and Speed Dial to talk about Homeless Stu and this Lennox character, and Craig is cagey as fuck about the mention of the crooked bastard copper, but manages to hide this from Yasmeen. But Zidane, though, looks like he's spotted something uncomfortable in Craig's demeanour, something more than the lack of chemistry with Faye. And that's as far as we get with that.
Right, yeah. He's like, oh, well, Lennox was before my time.
But he looks so cagey as he says it.
Right, yeah.
He's shifty.
Which is ridiculous because, like, Zidane would care that Craig is a crooked copper.
Now, our Twitter friend Callie Kitson, who writes for the Metro, she posted on Twitter saying that we are going to love something that happens in tonight's episode, and I think this is what she was talking about. Because I kind of made that little prediction on Wednesday about Tinker being a bent copper, and this kind of points more towards
we already
that.
know he's a bent copper.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering what it was that we were supposed to like so much.
I thought it was either that
or
it was the little thug life thing that happened in the police station again when...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was great. And I was thinking, see, this is why we need more women in law enforcement. To put people in their place.
Right.
No, she was great.
Because Toyah's gone in there with all guns blazing about
Right.
freedom of speech and all that sort of thing, and she's shut down not once but twice by
Right.
this woman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've already thug lifed it.
Excellent.
So yeah, I do think there's something going on here with Craig.
Well, he just doesn't want to be reminded of bent coppers because he is a bent copper.
What you think? I think he's closing rank a little bit.
And yeah, it does seem like he's closing rank, which he's already done once before and had to apologize for.
With the whole racism thing.
With the whole racism thing. Remember when there was racism on the street for a week?
Yeah, it was solved, thankfully.
Thankfully, it was solved.
I think that was the second time that Coronation Street solved racism.
And now white and black people can smooch.
Live in harmony.
Can smooch on the street.
They can,
God bless the UK.
they can gather round Billy with his piano in the middle of the street and they can sing the theme to The Littlest Hobo.
And kumbaya. Homeless Stu's not wrong what he says to Todd about how everybody likes to pretend that this is a nice little community. But the second anybody ever does anything wrong, they close ranks and condemn them.
Oh, without
because
doubt.
this happened to Stu, this happened to Ryan, this happened to Yasmeen herself, this happened to Kelly, this happened to Abby.
Right.
It happens to everybody the second something happens.
Yeah. Women, homeless people, and Ryan. Let's move on then to our next storyline this evening, which is There's Something About Sinkhole Leo.
And yet, Stephen does not feature at all in this.
No.
Even
On
though
Monday,
it's Aboot.
Sinkhole Leo is up early and finds a sad Jenny in the back room of the Rovers. She's upset that he never spoke to her about any of this Canada business, and Weatherfield is her home and the Rovers is her business. So she'd rather stay put if that's all right. Sinkhole Leo ignores her and tells her to think about it. So she explains all this to Daisy, who's surprised about the Canada thing and how she can't go because of her responsibilities. Working through a speech that she's probably prepared a million times for a moment like this, she offers to look after the Rovers for Jenny while she's gone, and then it'll be waiting for her when she comes back, or when Leo dumps her for some bit of maple syrup. Daisy calls Daniel round and fills him in, and then
But not like that.
and then explains everything that happened. Oh, the plans she has for the Rovers once Jenny's gone, but unbeknownst to Daisy, Jenny's actually standing behind her.
Daisy really just needs to learn to not speak openly
Right.
about anything having to do with Jenny, because this isn't the first time
No.
that Jenny has overheard her say something and misinterpret it.
Far more likeable now, though, these days, as our Daisy. You
I liked her from the beginning.
You cow, says Jenny. Well, I'm never letting you be manager of this place, even if I do go to Canada. And later, Jenny's still irate when she explains these developments to Leo.
Who do you think she'd give that position to instead?
I think she'd sell it. I think she'd probably have
Sean?
to sell it. Oh, God, no.
Gemma?
May as well burning it down. She's still unsure about the upheaval of the move. She thought they were fine as they were, and running the Rovers is her dream, despite Johnny drowning to death a few months ago just round the corner. So Leo
That
decides
doesn't negate her dream
to not
that
go
she's
to
had since she's
Canada.
been a little girl to be a landlady at a pub.
So Leo decides not to go to Canada after all, despite not having a job here anymore because they already quit his job, remember?
Right.
Being with Jenny is the important thing, and he tells her that he loves her, and she says that she loves him too.
Aw.
Then Daniel comes back after work just as Jenny apologises for snapping at Daisy, and then announces that Sinkhole Leo has knocked back the Canadian job. Daisy pretends to be happy, but Daniel is horrified that Leo is turning down such an awesome opportunity. Jenny is surprised to learn that this was an awesome opportunity. Who's got two thumbs and just turned down a job in Canada, says Leo,
This guy.
as he wanders in. What a weird thing to say, says everyone else. That's as far as we get with that this week.
Yeah,
So right
I don't
enough,
think
so
there was
we're-
I don't think there was a job in Canada.
So
I now
really?
don't think there was a because why would he knock it back so quickly
Well,
without argument?
there are an abundance of questions about this and his handling of this.
Right. His
That-
whole
that-
well, I'll just not go then.
That he never thought of mentioning to Jenny that he's thinking about ditching his job.
Right.
He doesn't tell Jenny that he's actually ditched his job. He doesn't tell Jenny that he's applied for a job in
Canada.
or that he has an interview for that job, or that he's got that job until all of it's done.
Right.
Who does that?
And there aren't people to inspect sewers in Canada already?
Right?
And the other stuff that he does. Because he inspects more than just sewers and sinkholes.
There isn't a sinkhole Pierre in Quebec, we're led to believe. It wasn't Quebec, it was Ontario, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Toronto.
Toronto, yes. Our home away from home.
Oh, Canada.
Oh, Canada.
That reminds me of a song.
Windsor was quite nice when we were in Windsor.
All of it's nice. Leamington was nice.
Yeah. I've yet to be in a bad spot in Canada. I'm sure they exist.
I'm sure they exist. I would like to go to Alloa in Ontario because
It's surprising we haven't because it's so close.
it's a little out of the way. It's a little out of the way on a route to that neck of the woods. But one day we're going to have to go to Alloa
Yeah.
with my Alloa shirt on.
Right. Man.
Anyway, that's
If-
planning holidays on the podcast again. So yeah, so you don't think there's a Canadian job and you don't think there was a Canadian job? Then what's the point of this whole spiel from Leo then?
I think he's hiding a different deep, dark secret.
Oh, God.
Because there are so many deep, dark secrets on the show right now. Although Stu's deep, dark secret has now been revealed. Mm-hmm. Because we're going to find out in another storyline that somebody else has a deep, dark secret.
I think there's 2 more deep, dark secrets to be revealed
Deep,
this
dark
week.
secret. And ironically...
Oh, they're not revealed, but their existence is
right,
revealed.
yes. Both of them start with the letter S. If we're counting nicknames.
Okay. There has to be something here because there's no point to this otherwise.
Yeah. It just
Although
it seemed...
it did spur them to say that they love each other.
But didn't one of them already say... Didn't Leo already say he loved Jenny?
I don't think so.
And then Jenny was afraid to say I love you back?
I don't remember that. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. I just
It's true.
I don't remember it.
It just seems like he gave in
Way too easy.
very quickly
but he
and
is
far too
absolutely
easily.
infatuated with her. Or
Is
so
he?
it seems. Or so it seems.
Right.
Everything he says about it is that he's
the
completely
fact,
blown away by her.
because she was just like, I'm not sure, and my whole life is here. I need to think about it. And he's like, well, I will remove your need to think and just not take the job. This big, massive job that I'm sure pays quite well if...
Yeah, because now he's not got a job.
Right.
And those are nice things to have.
Yes, especially in Canada. I wish I had a job in Canada. Oh, Canada.
Let's move on
Yes.
to Canada. I mean, to our next storyline, which is Sean the Sheep.
Bah.
On Monday, Sean is moping about not taking his chances with the homosexual dentist who likes Wizard of Oz last week. Because she's a nice person and a nosy fucker, she promises to help. This is Glenda.
Yes.
Glenda promises to help him track the guy down at lunchtime for him. So in the Rovers, Glenda announces that she's found a dentist, or who she thinks is a dentist. They discuss an action plan. Glenda tells him to grab him by the horn.
But now, like that.
Sean says he usually waits for the second date for that.
Yeah.
She arranges an emergency appointment for him to get some fingers in his mouth. Ugh. So Sean goes off to floss his Wotsits. Glenda announces herself to be the patron saint of the gays.
Well,
And she has
who
a little
isn't?
argument with Eileen about this. That doesn't amount to anything, but she does say, jealousy, Eileen, is not a good look on you.
Right.
In these roles, Sean and Glenda are sad as they discuss that the Lawrence guy that they thought they found turns out to be the wrong one.
No, it's not the wrong one. He's left the practice.
Poor Alex, who's working there today, is trying like a bear to get them out the cafe.
Right, yeah.
And is hilarious as he does so.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to see Alex back on the show.
Because they keep on asking him for his opinion on things, and he just says things like, I need you to go.
Right.
Sean learned that the Lawrence character has changed jobs. Thank you for your custom, says Alex. Sean worries that he's punching. I'll tell you when you're punching, cock, says Glenda. Fuck off the pair of yous, says Alex, and then they finally leave. On Wednesday, Mary is now roped into finding Sean's dentist. Mary and Glenda together.
I just love it. I love it so much. It's just...
This was my one concern.
Dreams
the two
come
of them,
true.
Right?
Dreams come true.
The two of them weren't going to work well together.
And yet they do.
They absolutely do. Mary says that the universe has sent Sean a treasure map that he must follow, but Todd thinks that the universe sent Sean a dentist because he needs a filling. At which point, Sean looks at the camera, and a boing noise is heard.
And he raises an eyebrow.
Mary has an idea of going back to yesterday's dentist and ask where Lawrence went. She and Glenda rush off to investigate while Sean continues to mope that he's not destined for love. Later, George has spotted a man hanging out around outside the undertaker's. George comes out and tells Lawrence his name and occupation, which freaks Lawrence out. Lawrence is there to see Sean, and George asks why. Lawrence wants to know about shoes. There then
Los
follows
zapatos.
an extended shoe metaphor, which ends when George tells Lawrence to be in the bistro at 6 for all of the shoes. Mary and Glenda have drawn a bust at the dentist, who refused to give out details of former employees, and the police were almost called. But George arrives with his news and the promise of a date at the bistro at 6. The fact that Lawrence was looking for Sean is a good sign. Let's hope he's better than that prick Frank, says Dylan.
See.
And this gives Sean pause.
Yes.
Lawrence arrives at the bistro for his date. Lawrence, says Debbie. How does everyone know my name, says Lawrence, which again was quite funny.
It was.
Meanwhile, Sean is showcasing his outfit for his date. He's going for the Crockett from Miami Vice look. Everyone lies and says that it looks fab, but Sean has decided not to go. Glenda and Mary talk George into going to the bistro to stall Lawrence while they figure out what's going on with Sean. Eileen, throughout all of this, does not give a solitary fuck. But Glenda points out that neither she nor Mary have a love life, and they can only live vicariously through a gay man.
Yes.
George finds
It's
Lawrence in the
just-
bistro. Lawrence a bit scared that it's not Sean, but George has lots of details about Sean's shoes.
It's a rom-com just waiting to happen, isn't it?
Like,
Two middle-aged ladies living vicariously through their gay roommate.
hasn't that been done?
I'm sure it has.
Am I going to need to make another sitcom theme tune?
No.
Okay. Back home, Sean reveals that he has to focus on Dylan now. He deserves a settled home life. What are you doing here then, says Eileen. But Dylan has his own life there because he's gone out with his mates. And he suggests that Sean has a word with himself and gets ready.
Yes.
Eileen sits largely ambivalent to all of this drama as it happens around her. It happens round about her.
And Sean is wearing this onesie that says Los Angeles A's. And the A's don't play in Los Angeles, and those aren't the Oakland A's colors. I'm very confused where Sean got this onesie jammies that he's
It was
wearing.
the Los Angeles. Is it the Angels with the A with the halo? Was it that?
I'm
I
not
didn't
sure.
notice. I didn't notice.
It was just weird. I was like, wait, did you steal this from Tyrone?
Because it's Oakland that the A's play.
Right. Yes. But it wasn't in the Angels colors either. But it's just funny that somebody else from the show besides Tyrone was wearing something with an American
We're not
city's
sending
name
Sean
on it.
any clothes.
No, not unless he sends the peacock shirt first.
Right. George helps himself to a glass of wine at the bistro and fills Lawrence in. And
But not like that.
And then tells him about Sean's experience with Frank the Wank. Lawrence is about to give up and get the bill when Miami Vice Sean shows up after all, with the Jan Hammer behind him.
Right. Reeboks, no socks.
So Lawrence and Sean spend their first date talking about Frank the Wank and his attitude towards Dylan, which I'm like, this is not fair on Lawrence to be
No,
Have
because
the
he's
syphilis.
already heard this from
once already, right?
The Undertaker.
Lawrence hopes that one day he'll get to meet Dylan, and Sean makes that face.
Yes.
Back home, Mary and Glenda are thrilled when they get a text from Sean and the gents. It's a thumbs up, and also the date has gone well.
And they're squealing, and it's so cute.
And Todd's like, oh, just shoot me now.
Right, because he wanted to get Lawrence's number
Yeah,
first.
There was a moment, and it wasn't really a scene as such, but there was a moment kind of at the start of it where Todd is. It's after Todd has spoken to Homeless Stu, and he looks down the street and he sees Lawrence hanging about at the Undertaker's.
Right.
And at that point, I thought he is going to sabotage this,
Right.
and then he didn't.
And then he didn't, because he only does that with Billy
Right.
and Paul.
Yeah, this was, I think, confirmation of our new favourite character, that it wasn't just
A one-off.
It wasn't luck.
No.
It was written, that parts of that episode were written so sparklingly well.
Yes.
Lots of punchy, quick dialogue that
Right.
was funny. The scenes that were in Eileen's with the Undertaker and Todd and Mary
And Eileen
you know,
and Sean and
that whole
Dylan.
group together. Dylan as well was great.
Yeah. Yeah. See, this is... And not one of those people has a deep, dark secret.
No, yet.
Huzzah! No one has a deep, dark secret. Everybody loves one another, kinda. You know, everybody has the sparkling repartee between them. You know, it's funny without being a sitcom.
Yeah.
It's just this is what I like. Nobody's murdering anyone.
Genuinely, it's made me care about a Sean storyline.
Yeah. Yeah.
I worried that this was going to happen last week, and it has happened now. I care about this Sean storyline.
Right.
On Friday, I'd have to say I was, without the influence of Glenda in it, I wasn't feeling it quite as much. Because Sean's already talking about his man Lawrence. It's like,
Right.
dude, come on, it's not even been 24 hours yet.
Right.
But the lead up to it
Yeah.
has been done so well.
It was great. Yeah. And it's like what we've said about Todd. With certain people, we just can't stand him. But with this family group, he's fantastic. And Sean, again, this is the best. I think this is the best house on the street as far as a healthy mixture of lots of different personalities living together.
Inexplicably living together, right.
And inexplicably working together, whereas it works.
And
You don't expect Eileen and Mary to work, and yet they do.
Well, yeah, and I was thinking why the Sean storyline is working where previously it hasn't really, or it hasn't as well.
Right.
It did a bit with Frank.
Yeah.
Because Frank was pretty good.
Right.
And Todd was pretty good in that. But I think the way that it works here is that, because there are some people who don't like Glenda out there.
Yeah, those people are wrong.
They're wrong. But
They just don't like big brassy broad.
But what I like about it, of why I think it might be working, and I haven't really thought this through, so I don't know if it holds water or not, but I think if you like Glenda or if you don't, you feel something for that stance. So you're with Eileen then. You're with Eileen and Todd and their kind of ambivalence towards it, and you're really on their side.
Right.
Or you like Glenda and you're really on her side.
Right.
So there isn't really a middle path of apathy where you don't really care about either one of them. You care about one position or the other, which means that regardless of your position, you're a bit more invested in the story than you would have been if you had that ambivalent view of it. And I think too often there are storylines where I don't care. Like, I don't care about Summer at the moment.
Well, no.
So it's hard for me to be invested and think that her character's working well.
Right.
Or Aaron's working well, because I just don't care about it.
Because there's no growth, and you're just seeing the same thing over and over again. Whereas I think this is one of the things with Sean, where Sean is significantly less self-centered in this storyline and the Frank storyline than he was in his homeless storyline, where he was very self-centered.
Right.
And
the double glammy was...
And the double glammy storyline, where he
not.
was so self-centered, and there has been growth in that character since the double glammy stuff, where he's become less self-centered. We've seen more of him as more of Sean the dad with Dylan, which is nice. We're seeing more of Sean in actual relationships, which is nice, and not just, him talking about blah, blah, blah down the street that, I went out with so-and-so who we never get to meet or see.
Right.
He's becoming more well-rounded, and we're not seeing the same old Sean over and over and over and over again, like we are seeing with Summer's storyline, where she is just over and over and over again with the...
It's like, give me a Sean I can like.
Right.
And I will like him.
Yeah.
Seems to be what's happening. What I thought was, this is just a character I'm never going to warm
Right.
to.
Whereas before he was kind of this caricature of a gay man.
Right.
He has stepped out of that caricatureness, the whole swishiness and the self-centeredness and the only caring about himselfedness and the and the talking about some idealistic mannishness sort of thing.
I think he has work to do to win other people over. Mm-hmm. But I think so far so good with this. And this Lawrence guy seems pretty great as well.
Yeah. It's like the problem we have with Kirk as well. Whereas we're getting a little tired of Kirk just constantly being
the buffoon.
Yeah, the clown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Make him less of a caricature and we will care about him.
Right.
You've made Sean less of a caricature and now we care about him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting stuff.
Yes.
Our next storyline today is Grand Theft Bistro. On Monday, Grand Theft Bistro 2, Vice City. on Monday.
Well done.
Well, minimum effort.
Yes.
On Monday-
Less beating up of prostitutes in this one.
Marginally. Ronnie drops into the bistro
More
early
cocaine.
doors, but he's not looking for a table or to get his hole. He's there to apologise to Debbie for snapping at her, but he doesn't want it to be awkward and hopes that they can remain friends. And she's kind of sad when she says it, yeah. Then Leanne and Nick burst out the office mocking Ryan for his excuse of being forced into the robbery by two big boys. Leanne particularly mocking, "Oh, I was forced into the robbery by two big boys."
Yeah, I don't remember anybody saying to you, Leanne, "Oh, I was forced to sell drugs by one big boy who's now on Strictly Come Dancing." Oh, and his little teenage punk who bossed me around in my own house. Oh, God, such a freaking hypocrite, that Leanne.
Love it.
I used to like her.
I still do. Nick looks like he's swaying about it, and Debbie does what she can to make him sway more, citing Harvey Gaskell as someone who can get people to do things they don't want to do. People will do anything for money if they're desperate, says Leanne. Well, you'd know about it, says Debbie.
Yeah, that was nice.
Nick decides to have a word with Ryan to see what's what. So Ryan comes in and explains that two big boys made him do it, and he didn't mention it before because they threatened to batter him later. Leanne still isn't believing and points out that the insurance won't pay out if it wasn't a robbery. Debbie just wants to be sure, and then PC Tinker turns up asking Ryan to accompany him to the station. At the station, Ryan gets his charge sheet and his appointment is with the magistrate tomorrow. He asks PC Tinker how he thinks this is going to go, and Craig is like, "What do you expect me to say about it?" Well, you're a cop, you should know.
Well, again, he's a cop. He's not. He doesn't work in the courts.
There's CCTV of you robbing the place, says Craig, and without anything to back up your excuse of big boys making you do it, you're fucked. Back outside the bistro, Ryan wants Debbie's help to fake a scene where the big boys threaten him that they can capture on CCTV. Debbie thinks this is hilarious, and if she was supposed to dress up like a big boy, it would look like she was getting threatened by Harry Potter. She tells Ryan not to be so daft and leaves him to it. After getting another knockback for help from Paul, Ryan watches a YouTube video on how to fake being threatened by big boys on CCTV.
No, how to fix a CCTV
but
camera.
falls on his arse when he's trying to unscrew the mountain on the bistro wall. And for a moment I thought it was the same guy that did the PC Tinker video to retrieve a false fingernail from a sink, but it was a different guy.
Oh, boo.
Yeah,
they should have had the same guy.
I
That
really
would have
wish-
been hilarious.
Because if it was...
What a missed opportunity.
I'd start piecing them together. You know me. The noise attracts Ronnie, who reveals that he knows exactly what's gone down and how Debbie is really the mastermind of the shite plan. But the bottom line is that a crime has been committed. Ryan was the one who committed the crime, and it's time for him to face the music, like one of those big boys who didn't threaten him. On Wednesday, Ryan meets Ronnie in Nina's roles. He's shitting a brick ahead of his day in court. Debbie comes along to offer her best wishes now, as she won't be able to make it. And Ryan leaves, sad that he's going to be there on his own. And Ronnie is left to think, oh God, so I'm going to have to go and make sure that he's all right, basically.
Yes.
So that's what he does. At the court later, Ronnie sneaks in to offer Ryan support, which Ryan silently appreciates with a nod. He pleads guilty with the mitigating circumstances of big boys making him do it and then running away. The court takes this very seriously, and the judge asks for a moment to eat a sandwich and consider the sentence. And we don't get to see that. And next we see Ryan and Ronnie landing in the Rovers for a pint. He got off with community service. Ronnie is thrilled, but Ryan now reflects that he has fuck all going on in the way of a decent storyline these days.
Or a job.
And his Ibiza plan is down the toilet. Things will get better, says Ronnie. Ronnie goes to tell Debbie the good news and to tell her that she's lucky Ryan didn't drop her in it and go and do something about this. And he has to check on her later to make sure that she's been in contact with Ryan, because Ryan deserves better than this after what he's done for her. But Debbie is then distracted by a call from the insurance company. And she finally finds Ryan in the Rovers playing the fruit machine and she offers her thanks. It's all been for naught though, as the insurance isn't paying out, which was quite funny because then Ryan starts headbutting the fruit machine.
Right.
And Debbie,
and everybody looks over
Debbie,
at
to
him.
distract it, quickly puts another nugget in.
Right, that was funny.
But the good news is that despite previously offering Ryan a manager's position at one of her rape hotels, she's offering him head waiter at the bistro now. She promises to never forget the solid that Ryan took for her. Me neither, he says. And then he wins the jackpot. His luck, perhaps, is turning around.
Yeah. Are you surprised that the insurance won't pay when it's discovered that it was an inside job?
I couldn't be more confused about this. It's like, because Ed has been paid off, and I don't know where that money has come from or gone or how any of this is working, or how much money was in the safe, how much money was getting claimed from the insurance.
Sometimes it's better not to ask.
None of it is making any sense to me.
Yeah.
On Friday, it's Ryan's latest first day back at work, and Debbie hasn't told Nick or Leanne, and he's worried about the reaction from the punters. Well done, Debbie. To make peace with the old codgers from another storyline, Debbie has offered them free dessert, and Nick and Leanne scream in shock when they arrive, which I thought was about the free desserts from the other storyline, but it turns out because they've seen Ryan behind the bar. So in the kitchen of the bistro, Ryan and Debbie are forced to confess all that happened about the heist and Debbie's financial situation. And it turns out, after a bit of argy-bargy, that Leanne and Nick don't really give a fuck and decide to forgive and forget as long as the money gets paid back.
Right. Has Leanne paid the business back from Toyah's lawyer? Has she?
I don't think that's clear.
Because that's not clear. That's not made clear at all. And yet they're being so self-righteous with her about her bit.
Right.
It's like, how is the bistro even open?
When characters left and right are taking money out of it
Right.
to pay off various debts.
Right. Illegally.
For other people.
Because again, Leanne pointing fingers when she illegally took money out of the till for Toyah's lawyer.
Yeah, because it was stolen as far as Debbie was concerned
Right.
until Leanne
So
confessed.
they've both stolen from the business
Right.
for their own personal needs. Although I guess Debbie's is kind of for the business, but
Right,
also for
and it's
paying off Ed and her other businesses.
And I'm assuming it's a larger sum of money. But the fact that there is this kind of contradictory conflict here, it's like, does Coronation Street watch Coronation Street?
Right, yeah. Well, it must, because Leanne remembers that she once tried to burn down a business
No.
she had.
No. That means that Coronation Street watches classic Coronation Street.
No, they haven't watched the last months.
Fucking hell.
What is going on here? This is...
If I'm watching it, the least that they can do is watch it.
It's just the selective memory that they're giving these characters is just...
But surely Jane Danson's reading this and saying,
Wait a second.
you want me to say this? Where's the archivist? Get the archivist over here. Remember this?
Have I paid this off? Did I miss something in a script somewhere else?
What are we on? Episode 10,700 and something? Go look at episode 10,600 and something, where I'm pretty sure Leanne does something pretty similar to this.
Right, yeah. Only she does it herself.
And Ryan isn't involved.
Right. Nor is the safe. She just openly...
Took it from the account, didn't she?
Right. Yeah. This is, again, just between this and her mocking Ryan for the big boys when skinny
I think
Jacob.
Jacob was menacing in that.
I
I know.
think he was menacing.
Jacob had a stranger's vibe about it at that point. I thought you didn't pick up on it, but I definitely picked up on it.
He's a kid. He's not even your kid.
So
Kick him out.
So they were in The Strangers and in Funny Games. Anyway, I don't know who owns what money to who at the moment.
Regardless of whether or not Jacob and Harvey were menacing, the fact that Leanne was menaced by them,
Right.
and then turns around and mocks Ryan
For the same thing.
for the same thing
Leanne-
is ridiculous.
Leanne gives them both a second chance without Nick's input, which obviously pours a handful of sand down his foreskin.
Right.
Which she reminds him of Villandro's that she burned down back in the day to avoid the bailiffs.
Right.
And he's like, well, that was a long time ago.
Right. Yeah.
Like
what
that
happened
counts.
last month?
Right. And there's also this other thing that
Right.
happened.
Yeah. And also, just wait a second. Before, Nick, you were willing to forgive Ryan. But now that you found out that it was really Debbie's fault, you're not so quick to forgive. What is this saying about you, Nick?
And I'm not sure why they don't know that the finances of the company are in such bad shape if they're owners. Anyway.
Well, it kind of seems like it's Debbie's other businesses,
It's
which are
I
the
think it's all
worst
part
off.
of the same Weinstein operation, isn't it?
Right. Well, the bistro is, the Nick and Leanne are involved with the bistro. They're not involved with the rape hotels.
Right. Ryan spies Debbie nodding off later on in one of the booths and brings her a coffee. It seems his robbery has already blown over with the customers and Nick and Leanne. And
Right, because everybody's focused on Homeless Stu now.
And everyone's pretty happy with Ryan now because he was nice to old people earlier on.
Right, he's you.
Ronnie comes in, pleased to see, just women. Ronnie comes in, pleased to see how, don't be an old man, I'll fucking chase you. Ronnie comes in, pleased to see how Debbie's handled all this.
You like Kenny Rogers down the street.
And so decides that he wants to go back out with her, to which she agrees. So this safe Robin storyline seems to have meant absolutely nothing. He takes off her glasses, she unruffles her hair, and they go get their hole in the restaurant area of the bistro.
And then later on, they
Yeah,
go
well,
to the rape hotel
yeah,
and we'll in another storyline.
Yeah. Things that are different now at the end of the... I'm hesitant to call it a heist storyline, but things that are different is that Ryan now works full-time at the bistro.
Right, because he didn't rob Jenny, but Jenny's not going to give him his job back.
Yeah, that seems to be the difference. That Ryan has moved from working at the Rovers to working at the bistro. And he has a head waiter job or something.
Wasn't he already kind of working at the bistro, though?
No, he was there casually for the psychic and casino nights. But,
that's
but
right.
he left the bistro, I think, when his mum left it.
Right, yeah. They do mention his mum this week.
Yeah.
Have you told your mum yet?
No, she's too busy practicing for Strictly as well.
No, she's dancing. with that guy whose name I can't pronounce because I'm an American.
That seems to be a time to introduce
But you know what?
an unrehearsed character into the show.
But you know what?
What?
I don't feel bad about it because Sofa Cinema Club this week,
About what?
they called Jake Gyllenhaal, and then what's his name?
I don't know what or why we're talking about the Sofa Cinema Club.
Because they do the same thing I do, but they're not apologetic about it because
nobody's sitting there correcting them.
no, but he did.
Oh.
PC Tinker says to the other two, "Oh, I believe, I've always said Gyllenhaal, but apparently it's pronounced Gyllenhaal." And they both say, "Oh." And then all three of them commence saying Gyllenhaal through the whole rest of the episode.
I haven't listened to it yet, but thanks for spoiling it for me.
Yeah, they're talking about Brokeback Mountain, so that's fun.
So has anything else happened? Is anything else different apart from Ryan has changed employer?
Right, and we finally get to actually see Ronnie and Debbie smooching on camera.
And we learn that Debbie's finances aren't great.
But we knew that already because that's how this whole thing started. But she's admitted it.
I'm asking what's different between the start of the storyline and the end, and we didn't know
Other
at the
people
start.
know about Debbie's problems, whereas before she was kind of trying to shoulder it all by herself and wasn't admitting it to other people.
That doesn't seem enough for a
And
storyline that's
also,
lasted a couple of weeks.
Ryan where's Ryan going to live?
He's living at the rape hotel. That's the address it gives him. He was in the...
Oh, that's right. Because he's not living it with Jenny
No,
anymore.
because he's living in the rape hotel.
Right.
I think I just said that.
Yes. So Ryan has had to move out.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's
From one accommodation to another.
right.
Ugh.
So that's different.
Yes.
you think-
Is any of this noticeably different though, other than that he now works at the bistro?
Does this affect his chances of ever getting back together with Alia? Because he talks about Alia a lot to Ronnie as well.
It does. I'm kind of thinking that maybe his position in the show is a little more concrete now because this was a chance to get rid of him and they haven't. So
Right.
that's got to be good.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he got off with community service though.
Yeah, that was shocking.
He did rob a restaurant.
Right.
Let's remember.
Yeah. But he was coerced, and apparently the judge believed him.
Yeah. Moving on then. Our next storyline is Audrey Hm-Bop. On Wednesday,
Boop-ba-da, boom bop.
Audrey-
Shoo-da-da.
that kept Paranoid
Hm-Bop.
Android off #1 in the UK, by the way. Audrey is in
They
Nina's
play
roles.
all their own instruments, Hanson does.
So do Radiohead. Audrey's in Nina's roles with Stephen, but she's in a world of her own as Stephen and Shona talk about curries and taking David for a walk.
But not like that.
Audrey,
Or not that one. Yeah, he specifies the dog.
Audrey shuffles off for an appointment with Gaddas and plays down the accidental sleeping pill overdose thing.
Which was not accidental.
Gaddas,
and nobody's
though,
believing her.
senses Audrey is anxious and jumps to rule 1 in the doctor playbook by offering Audrey some antidepressants, which she thinks will help. Audrey looks somewhere
only-
between denial and leaping at the suggestion.
If only all doctors were Dr. Gaddas.
After the appointment, Audrey is practically sprinting to the Rovers, and this is seen with a quiet chuckle and a shake of the head by Adam sitting in his fancy Jag that thinks new. In the Rovers, Audrey is with Stephen when Adam comes in and, like a total arsehole, remarks on how much of a hurry she was in to get to the pub from the medical centre. Stephen is curious about the medical centre, so Audrey lies and says she was getting a prescription filled, but not like that. On Friday, Stephen and Rita are gossiping outside the cabin, worried about Audrey, and Rita makes plans to meet with him at the Bistro to come up with another plan to occupy Audrey, which seems unnecessarily complicated.
No, that prescription is filled in another storyline.
At Nina's Rolls, Rita is roping other residents like Roy into joining her planning session for Audrey.
Rita roping Roy.
This is all riveting television.
Riveting.
Roy tries to knock it all back, but Shona announces that she'll cover for him.
To curry favour.
So, Ken, Stephen, Roy and Rita are all in the Bistro trying to decide where to take Audrey tomorrow.
That's not boozy.
Ryan suggests the Bistro, which would be the 18th time in the last 4 days that Audrey has been there. So they quickly write that off. Debbie suggests going to the Rape Hotel, which does a great afternoon tea before all the raping starts. Stephen thinks this sounds wonderful, but is suspicious when Debbie wants a deposit. Rita's nose is put out of joint. About this too.
Because she's an old lady.
She takes Stephen's phone number to further complicate a fairly simple afternoon tea. Meanwhile, Stephen is concerned about his phone, so he goes to leave. And outside, he's right on the phone to his bank, trying to extend his overdraft.
Yeah, Rita doesn't seem to understand that businesses were very affected by the COVID.
Yeah, but taking a deposit for 4 people to have afternoon tea does seem a bit excessive.
Well, if it seems like it's something very popular and in order to reserve your place, I can understand it because it's not just like a reservation for dinner. It's for this very specific event. Like even before the pandemic, when we had like the special dinners up at Kraft, we would have to pay in advance. We would pay in advance for those.
Yeah, but that wasn't afternoon tea.
Well, it was a special
tea,
event.
sandwiches and tea.
And also
cakes.
Cake. It's very fancy.
I don't think it is.
I like afternoon tea.
Stephen is in Nina's Rolls paying for coffee with 2 P's and 1 P's when he gets a call from the Rape Hotel looking for the deposit. He reads out the credit card number reluctantly, but it sounds like it's been declined. Awkward, says Shona. And later, Stephen is still in Nina's Rolls shouting at someone at his bank. Then later,
Supposedly.
still at the Rape Hotel, Stephen finally calls to give his credit card details for the afternoon tea deposit, but when we see him, he's given the details of a card belonging to Mrs. Gabrielle Reed, and oddly, it's Reed that he chooses to spell. And that's as far as we get with that storyline this week.
Yeah, like when he's in Nina's Rolls, like yelling, he's like, "I'm not in Italy! Stop declining my card because, of your security thing." And I think he's talking to a dead phone. I don't think he's actually talking to anyone. I think he's just pretending.
Oh, really?
For Shona and for Sarah. And also maybe a little bit for Ronnie, because Ronnie's there as well. Ronnie is everywhere this week.
Right.
Him and his arms.
Yeah, and he is not buying Stephen Reed one little bit.
No. Yeah, he says, "I know a chancer when I see one."
He's sitting in Nina's Roll reading a book called How to Mistrust Canadians. And it seems to be working.
Or Ohioans masquerading as Canadians.
So there we have it. He's got a wife, one presumes, or an ex-wife, and he's got her credit card for some reason. Why would he have her credit card? Why doesn't she have her credit card?
Maybe he got a credit card in her name, as shifty husbands have been known to do.
Right.
I mean, it's only been since the 1970s that women were allowed to have credit cards in their own name in this country.
Let's not pick at that scab again. So he's come back looking all the world like the prodigal son, but
right.
as he stays...
The wealthy, well-to-do, successful prodigal son.
And he seems to be in none of those things,
right.
apart from a son.
So how is he going to sell silk to Sarah if he's in such dire straits?
Maybe he needs to sell silk.
To Sarah.
On the seashore.
With her seashells.
Yeah. shiftiness abounds. Which I think we
This
all
is
kind
one
of
of our
expected to happen.
deep, dark
That's a deep,
secrets.
dark secret. It does look like Audrey tried to kill herself then.
Gaddas does not believe her for
Not-
1
not
second.
for 1 second.
Because she is ineffable.
She's spot on. She recognises the anxiety
Right.
in Audrey.
And
Get to that age.
her stance and just the way she won't look Gaddas in the eye.
And just the flimsiness of the story that
Right.
you forget to take tons of sleeping pills.
Right. And she's like, oh, it's like when you lock your front door and then you go to lock the back door, and by the time you're done locking the back door, you can't remember if you locked the front door. This is when we say, okay, Audrey, let's test you for some
Right.
Alzheimer's now.
Exactly. If that is true, then there's something
Yes.
very seriously wrong here,
Yes.
right?
Because we all walk into a room sometimes and forget why we walked into that room.
God, since after the COVID, I'm still about to do something. What am I doing again?
Well, that's also, you're pushing 50.
Yeah. It seems to have, there's a line since COVID where it just feels like it's been a bit worse.
Right. Yeah. Aw.
Yeah, I don't like it.
No. Get vaccinated, kids.
Right.
Ignore the CDC.
Okay, moving on. Very
Oi.
quickly, we have just a 4-scene story on Friday. Let's call this one Man-O-Menopause.
Ugh. I hate this so
On Friday
much.
in the factory, Faye is complaining to Beth and Sally about how much fucking interest Craig is showing in their menopause diet. Beth thinks it's lovely that he's taking an interest, but Faye is being fed kippers by him and he wants to come on her gynecological visits with her, and that's just not on. PC Tinker, who doesn't work at the factory, turns up at the factory with a lunch package for Faye, scuppering her plans for a boozy lunch with the girls at the Rovers.
Right.
He's made her salad with more salad.
Right. He's
for
made her a
dessert.
green salad and a fruit salad. No protein.
Beth thinks this is wonderful, and Faye looks like she wants to kill. So Faye gets
Do
back
it.
to number 4 after work to complain to Tim and Sally about Craig, but Sally also thinks that Craig's performance has been stellar. He knows so much about the menopause, says Sally.
Right. But Sally does seem to take notice of the fact that Faye's not uber happy about all of this. There's a part of me that thinks that Sally is saying these things at the house just to wind Tim up, who knows nothing about the menopause and is very uncomfortable talking about lady parts.
Yeah, remember last week when Sally went menopause, 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 and Tim just ran away? Yeah.
At least he's no longer running away when she shouts vagina, vagina, vagina at
Yeah,
him.
because his impotence has gone away. Then.
Right, yes.
So Craig decides to take Faye to speed dial. She's initially excited about this until he tells her it's only because the food is all green for go and menopause friendly.
Right, yes. It has lots of green for go options because it's green for go and red for no. So, none of the spicy stuff?
Yeah. So Craig, the redhead,
God. Yes.
red for
Red
no.
for no, Faye. Red,
Red
for
for
no.
no.
It's like he's infantilizing her. And that's got to be irritating.
Yep.
She's not becoming a baby. She's becoming a woman who can't have a baby.
Ooh.
There's a difference. Ah, God. I thought he couldn't become more annoying. I thought I couldn't hate this relationship more. And yet I hate this relationship more, and I actually feel sympathy for Faye now.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Well, as a
I'm
woman.
seeing some very sporadic comments about people complaining that the makers of the show aren't giving Faye and Craig a chance, and they haven't had a intimate scene together. And I guess I'm not one to yuck someone's yum. And
Who finds this yummy?
And we'll just leave it at that.
Who finds this yummy? They need to go talk to Dr. Gaddas.
Our final storyline today is Spider Nugent into the spider pants. On Monday, Toyah is in Nina's roles, ignoring calls from Ed when Kelly comes in. Toyah tries to explain about the time Kelly walked in on her and Spider and how it wasn't what it looked like, but Kelly doesn't care and only wants to tell her that she's been called as a witness against Toyah in her trial. And the two of them look like they've made some sort of amends. They're not as...
Right.
Or Kelly seems to have
Yes,
other things
Kelly,
on mind anyway.
right, yeah. Kelly seems to have moved on, but it's obvious Toyah hasn't moved on because later on she will complain about Kelly having been called in, which is not Kelly's fault.
Yeah. And in the next scene, in fact.
Yes.
Back home, Spider comes to see her, but she's in a pretty low mood. She explains about her rent, her lack of money, and Kelly testifying against her. She's so alone and just going through the motions and utterly without the energy to get out of bed.
And the way she's like, and somebody I thought was a friend is going to give evidence against me. It's not like Kelly can say no to the court.
No, but it's still a fact. That can't be nice. It's
No.
not Kelly's fault, but it's not
yeah,
nice. But
you
it's
can't
still,
say-
But it's still not nice for Toyah.
And also, friend? Toyah, she was your foster daughter.
Right.
She's not your friend.
And for somebody who doesn't have the energy to get out of bed, has somebody had their hair done, Toyah? Just saying.
She's at least brushed it. And she's wearing clothes. She's not in her robe
Just-
and a
And
pair
the
of
scud.
sweatpants.
Right. Spider insists that he and Leanne are there for her, but Toyah thinks Leanne has enough on her plate, thank you very much. At the bistro, as Ryan has been led away by the police in another storyline, Leanne sees Spider waiting outside the office to speak with her. And whatever he says, it must work because Leanne goes to see Toyah and offers her Simon's room at Victoria Court because Simon's not a real character anymore, so we'll hardly miss it.
And also, it makes sense for Simon to move in with Peter and Carla, who have a whole apartment just to themselves, no roommates,
Right.
and no children.
Toyah seems relieved but suspicious. Leanne knows what Toyah is going through. She knows everything now that Spider's had a word with her. So Toyah finds Spider in the community garden and gently ribs him for grassing her up to Leanne, but it's just banter. She's accepted Leanne's offer and looks relieved to be leaving the flat. She thanks Spider for looking out for her. Some things never change, she says, and I thought that was a gorgeous scene. Just the gratitude from Leanne to have a friend, and Spider's kind of playing it down a little bit, saying, you know, some things never change. I'm always here for you, kind of thing.
Right.
I just thought it was lovely.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, we have an odd little scene in Speed Dial where Spider compliments Dan on his dial and then pays him from a thick wad of notes. Where did Spider get all that money? I think we're led to believe.
I didn't really notice the notes. I did like the talk
thick
about
wad.
the talk about, you know, oh, you've been to Pakistan.
Yeah, where's it your family are from? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to ask it like that. And Zidane's like, yeah, I know the difference between...
Right. Between racism and
right.
and
Being nice.
right. Yes.
So Spider goes round to Toyah's telling Leanne that he's here for the next few days as she seems in a hurry for him to leave. Toyah has been black bagging Imran's clothes. She doesn't want to chuck them, so decides to take them to a charity shop. But Toyah couldn't do it. She and Spider walk by Kirk and Peanut, who has eaten his takeaway too quickly and is missing Beth, and this is to make Toyah feel even worse.
Right.
As-
Well, does it make her feel worse, or does it comfort her knowing that other people
No, it makes her feel worse, I
occasionally
think.
miss their partners too? Of course, Beth is going to come back,
That night,
or the next day.
which is just, oh, fucking hell, Kirk.
Well, he doesn't know. He could. I was dreading Toyah saying, "Oh, well, you know, why don't you hang out with us tonight if you're so lonely?" But thank God that didn't happen.
Oh, that would have been a nice thing to happen.
No, because then Beth would try to kill Toyah.
Oh, yeah. As Toyah and Spider walk home, Spider walk, Adam throws his scorn at the two of them, calling Toyah Little Miss Muffet, which I thought was quite clever. Spider doesn't think any of this is Adam's business, but Adam's making it his business because it was his partner who's dead thanks to her.
Right, yeah.
In the flat, Toyah is a little embarrassed by the altercation on the street and then finds a bank statement for an account Imran set up for Alfie. This all gets too much for Toyah, and she asks Spider to leave without allowing him to finish his tea.
Yes. Capital offense right there.
Yeah, because Spider had said, oh, you guys in your suits and ties, you think you're better than the rest of us kind of thing. And Toyah's like, well, that was Imran. And he wasn't like that.
Right.
He totally was like that.
But also, you know, he's like, well, you know, I was just trying to defend you.
Right. On Friday, Leanne bumps into Toyah. Toyah's still getting packed with Imran's stuff before she moves in with her. Leanne thinks it's better now that Spider seems to have slung his web. Back home, Toyah is still fretting about that account for Alfie, so decides to do something about it. And she goes round to see Abby to hand over the documents for the account, and then is in such a rush to leave, knocking back Abby's offer of tea or an Alfie cuddle. And Toyah just seems completely unsettled.
Yeah,
And Abby
like she
seems
doesn't want
notice
to be
it.
there. Yeah.
Right. And this was a great opportunity for the two of them to get together and say, right, let's get the acetone out and let's take her nail varnish off. And let's get Debbie around and get her to join in. And then we can all have different colour nails or no colour nails if we so want. Because from now until the end of time, Abby's stuck with bright red, Toyah has plum, and Debbie has sky blue. Let's get them all together.
Why do you notice this?
Let's get them all
How
together.
do you notice this?
Have a nail varnish removal party. And
then swap colours?
And then I can get on with my life.
And then you could invite them all around and have like a mani-pedi party. A spa day with the girls.
Sure.
You forgot to talk about how Toyah's going to give Imran's suits to Billy, and Leanne thinks that this is a nice gesture because Billy can't afford nice clothes.
Because he's the Archbishop. She's making the same mistake that you make all the time. He's the Archdeacon.
Right, yes, but I don't assume he can't buy his own clothes, and when people want to donate clothes to him, it's not for the less fortunate who are trying to get a job.
Toyah rushes straight to Nina's rolls and talks about the smell on Imran's clothes that are reminding her of him, and Roy agrees that, smell is often a main trigger of memory.
Right, very much so.
But then he has to rush off to another storyline, and Toyah would rather stare into space than speak to Shona, until Shona shows Toyah an article in Wedding Gazette Online of Spider getting lifted at a protest. So Toyah goes to the police station to shout at the poor woman on the desk, but the copper has been reading D.S. Blondie's playbook on how to deal with Battersby's, and she gives as good as she gets.
Yeah, in the picture of Spider getting lifted, he's wearing a polo shirt that I owned in 1993.
Swish. Later, after Spider has been sprung out the neck, he goes to see Toyah. He heard from the duty sergeant that a young woman with plumbed fingernails was at the station earlier to plead his case. Guilty as charged, says Toyah. And she says that she welcomed the distraction. It means the world to have Spider here with her now. And she decides right there and then that she wants her whole of him, and she wants it now. So Spider is happy to oblige. All the while, bags of Imran's dirty pants sit in the corner of the room. Now that's hot. After this hot action, Spider
Those
thinks...
underpants are probably quite hot in those black bags.
After the hot action...
Steaming underpants.
Spider... Imran, steaming underpants. They're a fantastic band. I saw them at Glastonbury in 97.
For some reason, they were at Lilith Fair in 1992.
After the hot action, well, they had that difficult second album, and it's always difficult, number 2. After the hot action, Spider thinks what they did was honest and what she needed in the circumstances.
Right, this is the shagging as medication.
Getting the hot beef injection is often better than pills and therapy and stuff.
Yes.
But Toyah is already regretting it, and she throws him out for, I think, the 3rd time. Mm-hmm. So Spider wipes his cock on her curtains and then leaves.
And goes to the Rovers to drink with Sally.
But before that, Toyah's still dripping when Abby turns up to visit to see how Toyah's doing. She explains that she slept with Spider. Abby doesn't know who that is. Toyah...
Right, she's like, you slept with a spider? How big was this spider? Do spiders have penises?
Do they need it if they've got 8 legs? I don't know. Toyah thinks Abby must be disgusted, which would be rich. But Toyah just wanted to feel something. She's so lonely and full of guilt, and Abby knows what that's all about, and she speaks about Seb. Life isn't fair, she says, and Toyah knows that, and she admits she wouldn't have swapped Imran for Spider. So Abby says, no harm, no foul, no one's memory is tarnished by this, it's all good.
Right, she does that rubber band snapping on your wrist thing.
Now let's invite Debbie round and have a nail varnish removal party after all.
And surprisingly, Abby doesn't say to Toyah, see, this is exactly why I shagged your man.
So
was to fill the empty void after a loss.
Right. So Toyah tracks Spider down at the Rovers and she apologises for using him. He doesn't remember complaining and promises that their friendship is still intact. Then Leanne joins him and wonders what the fuck he's still doing here, which Spider takes as a cue to leave. Toyah doesn't mention getting her whole, but says Spider is a friend and she needs as many of those as she can get. Spider, she says, is a good man. But then outside, Spider is immediately on his phone to an unknown party, calling today a tough day and how he can't wait to get back. And that is how we end this week's episodes.
So Spider also has a deep, dark secret.
Can we do this deep dark secret thing?
One at a time.
And not on a Friday, and not by somebody walking away from somewhere around the corner, then immediately going onto their phone.
Right.
Because it feels like we've done this recently. And it feels like we've done this several times recently.
And both Stephen and Spider's deep dark secrets involve a phone.
Yeah.
And a phone call.
Remember how we learned that Phil had a deep dark secret? He went on the phone in the Rovers as soon as Fizzy's back was turned.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just it's lazy.
And-
it's a lazy way to do it.
And Leo was on a Zoom call, which is not technically a phone call, but it's close. I'm counting it.
Yeah, I'm filing all that under telecommunications.
Right. Yes.
Now,
The only one who has no telephone involved in their deep dark secret is Stu,
we have
whose name also starts with an S.
a precedent here of being thrown a bit of a googly of what looks like a deep, dark, nefarious secret. In actual fact, turns out to be nothing at all. Like it wasn't nothing at all, but the Phil with 12 thing wasn't an affair or anything. It was still weird. A book. So it is conceivable.
And Leo's was supposedly a job.
Right. So conceivably, Spider's cliffhanger phone call could be from one of his activist friends and waiting to get back to being part of a protest somewhere.
Or maybe he's married.
Well, I thought it was curious that they asked him if he had any children. And he said he didn't.
Right.
But I wondered why he was getting asked that. Why did they give him that line? Was there really nothing in that? Or was it...
It is something you ask.
Or was it portentous of something else?
It is something you ask if you haven't seen somebody for a long time.
Well, they don't know him.
Well, Sally knows him.
Sally knows him vaguely.
But
Beth hasn't a clue who he
But
is.
also, I mean, and it's hilarious because this is the only time I talk to our neighbors. At the yard sale this morning, or today, I met our new neighbor, Monica, who's married to Steve, and Monica works at the same place we do. And when she came over, one of the questions I asked her, or one of the questions she asked me, because she volunteered the fact that they have 6 kids between the two of them. But, she asked me, "Oh, do you have any kids?"
Yeah,
when
but-
I asked her a polite question about her kids.
And that's fascinating stuff, Ellen, but you're not in a soap opera on TV where things are kind of said for a reason.
No, I'm in a soap opera in real life. Didn't you hear? They have 6 kids between them.
Where things are done for a reason. I don't know. It felt like an odd thing for him to be involved in, an odd conversation for him to be involved in. But I'm not buying that he's up to no
Innocent.
good here. No,
You think he's innocent.
I do think he's innocent because he's been a nice guy through all this, and I think he's been there trying to help Toyah. But I do think as well, though, that he could be off the mindset that it was just a make you feel better shag, and it didn't really mean anything.
Right.
And they've kind of agreed with each other that didn't
that's
really mean
what it
anything.
was. Yeah.
So even if he does have a relationship elsewhere, so does it matter with this person that we don't know? If we don't know them, do we care?
Would you be saying that if I shagged somebody because they were
Again,
sad?
no, Helen, I have to insist that we recognise that this is a soap opera that we're talking about, not real life. That Spider is having a relationship with somebody that we don't know, then no, I don't care about that.
So does this mean I can shag other people?
No, because again, real life and soap opera. Mark the difference, please. Mark it. Mark the difference.
I totally thought we were living in a soap opera because our neighbors have 6 kids between them.
Yeah, it's not as funny the second time.
And have you met my family?
Yeah. Well, that's certainly no comedy, I'll tell you that. I don't know. It feels like it's just a cliffhanger for the sake of a cliffhanger. And the way that they did it as well, there was like a 20-second scene of nothing happening before the episode finished. I think he crossed the street or something.
Right, yeah, and it's a crane shot.
Right.
They zoom out to this crane shot where we watch him walking in my polo shirt from 1992
Right.
across the street, jaywalking.
That's not a thing. That's barely a thing here.
Still, and it's like, why They seem to really like doing those crane shots to end an episode, don't they?
On a Friday, when they think that they've just set up a cliffhanger,
Right.
I feel like this is...
Or to add drama to something that has just happened by showing someone walking alone.
Now,
Like Maria with her sledgehammer.
while I think that it's likely to be innocent, and while I think that's probably fine, I think it's cheating a little bit. And Mersey Tart pointed this out, I think, in his last 5 things, that when you set up things as a cliffhanger that's not really a cliffhanger, it kind of cheats the audience a little bit, because you're not playing fair, you're not playing by the rules, you're not saying, oh, this is a huge moment of drama. Oh no, it actually isn't a huge moment
Right, it's
of drama.
manipulative.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I totally agree with that, and it kind of feels like that to me, if that's what they've done. I almost would prefer him to be up to something, but he has no ties here, so I don't know who he would be upsetting.
I mean, one could argue that all cliffhangers are manipulative, but I mean, I guess it could be upsetting to Toyah if she found out that he was married, because she's not married anymore.
Mm.
So, and I'm sure she assumes that Spider is also not married.
I
don't think she would have shagged him if she knew he was married.
Well, and he said that he wasn't. He said that he's avoided it so far. But because there was no ties to them getting their hole, I honestly don't think either one of them would think of it as a big deal.
I think for Toyah it would be a big deal if she knew that he was in a committed relationship with somebody else.
Mm.
Even if it was just a one-off.
I kind of need bigger stakes than that.
Well,
I don't think they exist.
Unfortunately, all the bigger stakes are in other storylines, and in this storyline, the biggest stake is Toyah perhaps going to prison for murdering Imran by intentionally running into a...
Yeah, still not sure how she's going to get out of that.
Yeah, and we still haven't gotten a full explanation, and it's kind of worrying, because if this was a suicide attempt, which it kind of feels like it would have been, a murder-suicide attempt. Mm. We also have Audrey with a suicide attempt. You know, we're possibly having 2 suicide stories at the same time.
Alongside 2 storylines where you have a secret missus.
Right.
Potentially.
You know, and also
it's like
2 storylines where there's thieving going on.
Seriously, you don't watch the show. You're doing this twice in one episode.
Right. Yeah. It's like, can we spread it out a little bit? Have you not read that Metro article about misery porn and ruining characters with it? Yeah. You know, do you not understand that may have had a factor in Millie saying, you know what, I'm done with the show?
Yeah.
I certainly would have.
Would you? No, I'd be like Kirk if I was in that show. You'd have to drag me away from it.
How many times has Kirk been miserable on the show about something that didn't involve Wethy County or Peanuts poops?
Yeah, but if you were in the show, I wouldn't be leaving the show if I was in the show. And I certainly wouldn't be leaving the show if I was in the show more or less constantly for the past couple of years.
If I was in the show and I was constantly getting thrown into dungeons or molested or having my parents murdered or other people close to me murdered and having to cry pretty much all of the time and having to pretend to be high or drunk all the time.
Yeah, it's not all the time. But I think 5 years of that would be too much.
Yes.
2 years of that. You're talking to somebody who has had 2 jobs. The first job was for the company was for 21 years. Company number 1 was 21 years and company number 2 is 11 years. Mm-hmm. So I'm in it for the long haul in these things. Mm. Anyway,
theoretically.
That was... Well,
the week that was.
Well, practically, I think it's more than theoretically. That was the week that was Coronation Street then. What was your moment of the week?
Nobody throws you into a dungeon at work, though.
There's is the theoretically part of it. Metaphorically.
Everyone has now seen your cubicle with your
Monday.
Funko Pops. I think they know that you get sunshine.
Moment of the week.
Everybody in the house
No.
Waiting for Sean to
Nope.
come down in his outfit.
We gave it that.
And being really supportive of
We
him.
gave it that direction last week.
Did we? What did we have last week?
Glenda.
Well, yeah, that was Glenda. That's not Sean. We're giving it to
That's
Sean.
the same storyline.
It's Sean. We never give it to Sean.
And there's better moments in that storyline than that.
Okay, well, name another one.
Any of them.
Because it was just so cute
When he
how
came down as
supportive
Miami
everyone.
Vice, nah.
How cute everybody was supportive of him.
So I'd be more inclined to give it to Toyah and Spider for their little tete-a-tete in the community garden. 'Cause I thought that was lovely.
Yeah, but then it's kind of ruined by the deep, dark secret.
Yeah, still a moment. Still a good moment.
Debbie and Ronnie getting back together?
No. Because it was pointless. The Sean storyline, if I was going to give it to anything, or what did I enjoy most about the Sean storyline, it was Eileen. It was Eileen's, I don't give a fuck about this.
Right, which is not true. She does give a fuck. She just pretends not to give a fuck.
She's jealous of Glenda being the go-to person, I think is what's
know.
going on.
You know what? Speaking of Eileen, I really kind of liked that scene with Eileen and Yasmeen. It was a small little scene.
Well, I didn't even mention it.
No, you didn't. And I thought it was a great scene, and it was a great evidence that the show does watch the show occasionally.
I think the show probably just listens to the podcast.
Well, they do that too. Where else did they get the Sinkhole idea from? They read your book. I will go down swinging, believing that. Yeah, it was just, it's nice when the show remembers these things.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a really nice moment of vulnerability from Eileen and from Yasmeen. And the fact that Eileen's like, you know what? It's tough, but you got to learn to trust again. And look where I am with The Undertaker now. Good men do exist. They do exist.
I can buy into that. Let's go with that.
All right.
That's our
Moment of the week.
that thing that I didn't speak about.
Yes.
Is our moment of the
The
week.
thing we didn't talk about until just now.
Your boring moment of the week.
We gave it to Daniel last week, so I don't feel like giving it to him again, talking about his job. Being a man of the people now. Working a quote-unquote real job.
Right.
Because apparently teaching's not a real job anymore.
Yeah.
At least that's the way we treat teachers.
Now that he's shit at it, it's not a real job.
Is it the 4 people sitting around the table trying to figure out what to do with Audrey that doesn't involve booze? Because that was boring. Them talking, oh, let's go to a play. Well, we can't go to a play because then we can't talk to one another. Let's go bowling. Oh, no, I hate wearing shoes that other people have worn.
And
Because,
Rita,
God, isn't that a joke that hasn't been made a million times before now?
Rita's wig would fly down the lane if she was to throw a ball down there
And how
anyway.
indignant Rita is about this whole having to reserve something and people having to explain the pandemic to her.
I'll go with that. That was fucking dull.
That whole scene was dreadful.
That whole part of that storyline was awful.
I can't wait to see
needlessly complicated for such an easy thing.
I can't wait to see the fancy cakes though. Yeah, it was a scene just to set up the fact that Stephen doesn't have a working credit card.
Pretty much. So that is our
Boring moment of
Overcomplicated things. It's a boring moment of the week.
There's a boring moment.
In
of
a
the week.
boring moment of the week.
If you have a credit card, let us know your mother's maiden name and the
Your
name of
number.
the name of your first pet.
Your
We
PIN
are-
number, your expiration date.
Don't do that.
How funny. It was hilarious watching Stephen read out that credit card number in Nina's rolls.
Yeah, I
out
could tell
loud.
it's not a real credit card number. First 4 digits for nothing. First 4 digits for Visas and MasterCards and Amexes are all, they follow a standard format.
Is that true in the UK as well, though?
Yeah, it's true the world over.
They don't have American
True the
Express
world
in the UK.
over. Of course they do.
They don't.
Of course they do.
British people can get American Express cards.
I had a gold American Express card when I was in the UK, thank you very much.
That feels wrong. Why is there not a British Express card?
The Brighton and Hove Albion play at the Amex Stadium or whatever in Brighton, which is where I had to send
That-
my check to every week to pay off my credit card bill.
That
yeah, of
feels
course I
wrong.
did. Anyway, you can send all that information. You don't send that information to thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. You can shout me and Helen a coffee by heading to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/thetalkofthestreet. Check out the clicky section of voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode, and we will be back next week with more
Talk of the Street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.